Hello and welcome to another Digital Photo Mentor Live. I can't see myself on the screen. I just need to fix that. There we go. Okay, I need to know what I'm doing here. Today we are talking all about light. Light is essential to photography. In fact, you can't do photography without light. And we're going to talk about how to control it in your photo editing process. So, of course, you want to control the light when you are taking your photos as well, but sometimes the images need a little help back in the computer. So, just want to check in, see how everybody's doing. Thomas, wonderful. 79 degrees in Naples. That sounds awesome. Nancy, I actually have one of your images I might use today, Nancy, of a little chipmunk that I had from a while back. How's my audio? Am I in sync today? Out of sync today? We never know. Kevin is in the house. Hey, buddy. Good to see you. So some of our community members, for those of you who are joining us for the first time, we do this every 2 weeks on our YouTube channel on a different theme. A couple of weeks ago, actually, was it last week because of the timing of, we do it on the first and the third Sunday of every month. The last one I did was about how to erase things. So I talked about all the kinds of tools that you might use in Luminar and Lightroom to remove things from your images. Muchas gracias. Bienvenido, Jose. ¿De dónde eres, Jose? Okay, so I'm going to switch over to my screen so we can see some images. I've got some images in Lightroom and in Luminar. So I use both photo editing softwares in my workflow and I demonstrate both. Okay, so usually I demonstrate the software that people who've sent in the image most use. I don't know if Steph is here, but I've got one of her images as well, and I've got a few from Vietnam. So I wanted to do some of my travel images and just kind of show you what I did the other day. This is like a preview live because this is a new tool that doesn't exist in Luminar for you guys yet, but because I have the beta copy, I did a video of this new light depth tool. It's here under the creative section. Actually, I lie, it's not there because I favorited it. It's up here. Okay, so it will be under creative. Here, let me just put it back. Okay, so somebody actually made a good point on the video the other day about how they wished that when you favorite something, it stays in its original spot and adds it to favorite. I wish it did too, because people find that sometimes they're like, where did that tool go? It's missing, and they forget to look up here, or somehow it gets there accidentally, right? So light depth is the one that I used here to create the light on the cabin because it was very flat. So it's a great tool. It's like Relight on steroids. And I'm going to show you how this tool works today. So let me grab a different image. This one works really well with this tool because, again, the lighting is kind of flat across the board, and I want to highlight the man a little bit more. I want to bring attention to him and this doorway. Okay, so previously we only had Relight. This is in Luminar, where we could brighten the foreground and darken the background and then adjust, where the light was falling. Right? But if I have brightness here on him, it's brightening this whole area in the foreground, and then I have to go in and mask it because I don't want to darken the foreground. I just want to darken him. So this is feedback that I actually gave to Luminar, to Skylum, and maybe my feedback, and maybe others said the same thing, helped create this tool because it does a really great job. So let me show you how it works. Okay, Rob, if you could please share the link to the two things, the update video and then also the one on this tool about using this light depth tool, if they want to know more about these things, right? And if you are brand new to our Luminar Neo course, just know that anytime there's a new tool added like this one, there will be a lesson added to the course very soon as well. Because this one is still beta, I want to wait until I get the final version before I do any additions to the course though, okay? Okay, so here we go. I drag this amount slider up. So to activate it, like many other tools, you drag the amount slider up, and then you get this little window here with this, what's called a depth map. So it's looking for things in your image that are closer and farther away from the camera. Okay? It's mapping the depth of things in your image from the lens. And you see what's highlighted in white here is where the light is falling. Okay, so as I move this, you see that it moves the light. Look at this. I can narrow the beam as well, so I can get more specific and just light him. Okay, so see, now it looks like there's a beam of light coming from the left and just hitting him. See that? Then you could control the brightness in the background. Okay, so I can darken back here and I can darken the foreground. I want to make sure I'm getting all of him. There we go. Move it forward a little bit. So the difference with this one and Relight is you have more of a middle section of light. So you're adding light to the midground as opposed to the foreground and the background. Okay, so they've divided the zones into 3 instead of just 2, and it's really, really a lot better. Right? Then you have the options of controlling the warmth and so on. Okay, so I could warm him up like he's in a beam of sunlight. Okay, see that? And it does great things in terms of, look at this top corner here that's super bright. It's actually toning that down a lot as well. Okay. Howdy from the Ozarks. Hey, welcome, Karen. New Mexico. Sheila Ferguson. Good to see you, Sheila. We haven't seen you for a while. Germany. I don't know how to say welcome in Germany, but welcome on German. Even though my family was German, I did not speak German. So I apologize for not speaking my historical language, but my dad only taught me bad words. So I won't use any of those. The only German words I know are I think I could probably count to 6 or so, and then bad words. All right, so that's the quick overview of the light depth tool, okay? It's really, really quite brilliant, right? I used it on this image as well to do a similar thing because the background on this one was really bright, okay? And I used it to brighten them, and this is the only tool I'm using here. Look at the difference, okay? And if I go in and use Portrait Bokeh, I can darken it even more and blur it, okay? So let's take that one to the next level. So you can see that I added light to them, okay? And I haven't done anything else. So even though this is a raw file, I don't think I did anything here. No, I didn't do anything in Develop Raw. I wanted to just see what this tool did, okay? So that's just one tool, okay? Then let's do Portrait Bokeh on this one. And I'm going to do some in Lightroom as well. I've got a little collection, right? And I want to show you sort of the overview of the various different tools in both programs that you can use to control light, okay? So even though Portrait Bokeh is about blurring, okay, you can also darken, okay? So I'm going to make sure the mask is good. It's not blurring as much as I would hope here. Perhaps it hasn't kicked in yet. It's darkening, but it's not blurring, which is interesting. Right, so I usually just kind of go around them so that they don't get such a big halo. And I'm hoping that this pops in any second now here. I'm going to come back to this one because I think it's just not updating quickly enough. For some reason, it's not giving me a blur in the background, right? But you can definitely see that it's adding to the darkness, right? Of course, you can also use an edge vignette, right, to darken the edges, right? And in this case, I would move the vignette over, so I'll make it a little bit smaller, and then I think I would just put it so it's doing this left side a bit more than the right side, like that. Get it positioned like so. Okay, so I use the feather at 0, Okay, that's my little trick for the vignette tool. Change the feather to 0 so you can see where it is while you're positioning it, and then bring it back up again. Okay. So this one has really been transformed from total backlight to light on them. Okay. In this case, I wanted the backlight and something very high key, but I want to show you how well you can control the light with the various different tools. Okay. I'm going to come back to this one because I don't think it's blurring very well. Okay, this is another one that has really complex lighting. And I did use light depth on this one, but I'm going to go back and add it just to show you. So the only thing I did with develop was I toned down these highlights. So she has a lot of really contrasty bright light hitting her, and it was too much on the hat. And then the background is really, really dark. Okay. Plus she's got a lot of shadows on her face. So what I wanted to do, and I might just bring that exposure up even a little bit more, is to make sure, so you see I've still got some clipping on this hat. If I bring it all the way down, she starts to get super flat. So I'm not going to worry about the hat so much. I'm pressing the J key to show the clipping warnings. Okay. If you want to get a copy of my Luminar Neo free keyboard shortcuts cheat sheet, if you have the course, it comes with it. Please add a link to the keyboard shortcuts cheat sheet. Edward is in the house. Hey, Edward. Okay, what was I going to do next? Okay, light depth. So here we go. Let's try it on this one. So I'm going to drag it up quite high. Again, I do this on a lot of things. You notice that I dragged up the vignette quite high and then adjusted it later. So it's hard to tell where the light is when you're at, 20. So take it to the extreme, take it to 90, really refine the location, right? I want it on her face, but I don't want it on the hat, right? See if I come forward too much. So I'm really going to narrow the beam so that I can light up her, right? Not the hat, right? Softness slider just sort of adds a little blending to it, so it's not got a hard edge to it. Okay, so I'm going to soften it a little bit. And in this case, I'm actually going to brighten far. So I want to add some light to that hallway in the background, and I want to darken near. So it's darkening the hat and this wall that's next to her, right? So it's doing a really great job. Look what it's doing. It's brightening her face, darkening here and here, and brightening in the background. So it's really doing a great job of evening out the light, okay? Then I would also use a vignette on this one, on that hat, okay? When we're talking about light, another trick that I often use, and I teach people about this one, is called my upside down trick. Okay, so what I do is I look at the image completely upside down. Okay, now I don't have to do it this way because I've been doing this a really long time, and my eye is trained to know what to edit and where to go. So the reason that you want to do this is to look at the image upside down. It tricks your brain. Okay. You know what the subject is when you took the picture. So you know where to look. But in editing, you want to find any spots that are not the subject that are drawing attention. So when we look at this one upside down, okay, let me just go full screen. Where does your eye go on this? Okay, do you go to her? Do you go to her face first, or do you go somewhere else? For me, this window is really drawing a lot of attention. So is this spot here. So is this spot here. And this hat. Okay. So all of those things are competing with her face. Okay. So when we look at it upside down, it gives you an idea of what you need to edit to solve the problems of not seeing the subject. Okay. So how can we solve that? Well, I could probably crop in a little bit. So I could crop the window out like that, right? Which actually is quite a nice composition, and maybe just down to her elbow like this. So I could crop it out, right? Looks like it's a little bit crooked as well. I'm going to go with straightening based on this right next to her, okay? So we could crop it out, which solves two problems. Solves that problem and that problem. So one of my my big tips, I guess, for editing or for doing anything is to work smarter, not harder. Okay, we could do all kinds of things to work on minimizing that window and these that other little thing over there, but a quick crop solves it. Okay. Then we can just do a vignette. So here's my trick again. Take the amount down quite high and the feather down to 0. Now you could see where the vignette is going. Okay. I can make it a little smaller. And then I can position it. So I really want to get most of this hat, but not her hand. Okay. So maybe a little bigger. Something like that. Okay. Then of course I bring the feather back up. I usually leave this one over 80 or 90. And then I will adjust the amount. I actually don't mind it being fairly dark, right? And see what's happening here is the hat is still, you were never going to get any kind of detail in this hat because it's overexposed, it's blown out, right? So by darkening it, I'm just going to get gray, which tends to look weird. So what I can do there is just blur it a little bit. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the blur tool, which is in my favorites, actually, up here. And I'm going to do a Gaussian blur, right, like this. And then I'm just going to mask it to the edges. Okay, so I'm going to do a radial gradient, something like this. So I just get the, oops, come back here. It's going crazy on me. So I just get the edges. Okay. So obviously I need to invert it. Okay. So it's on the outside. And I just want to blur that hat a little bit. So I'm adjusting to move the, what am I calling it? Fade or the, I forget the word they use. The distance between the two lines here. Grab the outer one. So this is the fade. So the full effect will appear on the outside with 0 effect on the inside. This is the fade area, okay? Or blend, red blends. And then this one makes it bigger. Okay? So I just want to get, I don't want to make her hat any, or her head up here any blurrier. So I want to make sure I get all of her head. So it's just going to blur the corners a little bit. Okay. And if I get her hand, I can solve that with a brush. So that's kind of where I want it. Now you can see that it's just blurring the edges. And it's just making this hat minimized. Okay. I think that looks better. So let's see the faux before and after. Okay. If we look at it upside down again, will we see her? Maybe. We could also use erase to solve these little dots in the background if I want to get rid of them. Okay, if I want to get rid of these. It's a bokeh in the background, but I can get rid of it. Creative license if I want to remove it. Didn't do the best job. Maybe I'll use the cloning tool instead. Okay, so the cloning tool is down under professional. And I'm going to do it at like 50% strength, okay? And all I'm going to do is just clone from here. So I'm going to select the source here down to here. So I'm just going to clone down. Oops, see, I duplicated it. I got to get further away. Let's start here. There we go. Okay, and then I'm going to do one more from the top. Let's go from here. So I'm always picking a new source. That actually looks pretty good. I think I'm getting it. There we go. Now I've kind of got a soft spot in the middle there, but we'll blur it in. There we go. And I could just do the same here. So I'm just slowly sort of blending it out. Just to minimize that spot. Now this area is also bright. Okay, so another way to control just certain areas is to apply the develop tool again and then mask it to the area you want to affect. So I want to darken the highlights and maybe exposure. And I just want to put it on that area in the background here. Okay, so I could try luminosity actually, but I don't think it's going to work as well. So I'm just going to paint it in to this area. Zoom in when you're doing your masking like this so that you can see more precisely where it's going. Just that bright spot. See that? Makes a big difference. Right? Now if I want to add a little bit more darkness on this hat, I can just mask, continue brushing here as well. Okay. So there's our before and after. Okay, so the whole idea with this is controlling light so that it comes down onto her face more, right? And honestly, I could even probably have done this develop one. I'm going to go back in here and put it a little bit on her this area here on her dress. Okay, so if I just mask it in ever so slightly here as well, okay, I'm just taking it away from taking those highlights down a little bit, okay, because it's drawing attention from her. See that? Like so. Questions? Any questions? Larry says no. No what, Larry? You see the hat first. Yeah, Kevin. Okay, let's do another example. Let's hop over to Lightroom. I do have this one of Nancy's I want to come back to because he's a cute little guy. See the little chipmunk here? But he's kind of lost in the scene, right? So we're going to do some light control on that one, but I'm going to come back. Nancy, if you're still here, I think I saw Nancy. Yeah, I did. If you're still here, Nancy, would you rather me do this one in Lightroom or Luminar? Because I've got it in both. So let's hop over to Lightroom, and I've got a few images here that I want to work on. Okay, so this one is Deb's. We've got a couple of images of Deb. She lives up in Alaska, and she's got some great images. And I've edited this one previously, but I wanted to use this one in terms of how it works for light control, okay? So I want to do this one actually in Lightroom and then in Luminar. So I'm going to make a virtual copy, and I don't think I've done any edits on this one. No, I haven't. Okay, so I'm going to make a virtual copy, and I'm going to edit one here in Lightroom, and then I'm going to take the other one over to Luminar. Oh, I didn't see a poll, Larry. I don't see the poll. The poll, you have to actually answer the poll. So what was the question that you asked them, Rob? Okay, so starting in Lightroom, the first thing that I always do is change the camera profile. Okay, so this is a raw file, NEF, which is a Nikon file. So I always start with a camera profile and just see if I can find one that's better. Okay, so right out of the gate, look at the landscape one. And I went to that one first because I know that landscape profiles punch up the greens and the blues. Okay, and portrait ones, if there is a portrait one, there isn't under NEF. Portrait ones, oh, there is. Portrait ones tend to punch up orange and skin tones, okay? So we do want to punch up the oranges because I want to bring out those fall leaves and I want to bring out his fur. So I'm actually going to go with the, I'm actually going to go with the portrait one. It's a little on the flat side. It's a little on the flat side, but I think I like the colors better, and we'll fix the flatness, okay? So when I say flat, that means lack of contrast, okay? So there isn't anything white and there isn't anything black when we look at the histogram, okay? Okay, so the next thing I want to do is do my little shift double click trick, okay? There's a video on that. There's a video on that, Rob, if you could please share the shift double click trick video. I think I did just a video on that. So when you're in Lightroom, in the basic panel, hold your mouse over the word whites, hold the shift key down, and then double click on the word and do the same for blacks. And you see what it did. It popped them over here, meaning it put them on the edges. So it sets what's called the end points. It's gone a little bit further with black, but I'm okay with that. So it sets the end points so that there's pure white and pure black in the image, okay? I'm actually going to lower the exposure a little bit because I'm going to bring the moose out another way, okay? Now I find he's a little bit cool as well, so I'm going to try a cloudy or shade white balance. That's better. Okay, so notice how now the oranges are way better and the green is not so kind of bluish, right? Okay, so now he's brought out. That looks good. Now we need to do some tone control to really highlight the moose. So if we want to do the upside down trick with this one, I don't have to open the crop tool. I just know the keyboard shortcut is Command and square bracket key. So let's look at him upside down. Okay, so when we look at this image upside down, where does our eye go? Where do your eye go? Where does your eye go on this one? Okay, tell me in the chat, what are you looking at, or what grabs your attention here? Right? Does it go to the moose? Does it go somewhere else? Does it bounce around? Okay, my eye definitely goes to his antler here, but then it goes to this tree in the background, the green grass that's really bright or yellow in the foreground, and here, this bright spot here on the ground. Okay, so there's lots of competition with him. Okay, his fur here, but then there's this whole bright area back here. Okay, so the first question that I would ask myself, do you guys agree with that assessment of where it's going? Bottom right, moose horns, large branch. Yeah, so it looks like you're agreeing with me. Okay, let's get him right side up again. Okay, now the first thing I'm going to do is do the cropping again. Okay, so I like to crop freeform, meaning I don't worry so much about aspect ratio. I just go freeform, so I unlock it. And the easiest way to solve this strip in the front is to crop it right out. Okay, we don't need this bright spot in the front. And when you have a lot of foreground in front of your subject, it feels further away. You'll see in a minute when we show the full crop, or when I apply this, that he's going to feel like he's closer. Okay. Now he's very centered in the image. So I want to take some off of one of the sides. Now, do we want to take off the green, or do we want to take off this side? I think the left side has more depth, like the distance behind him. So I'm going to take some off of this side. Okay. Now, if I want to keep it in the same aspect ratio, I can hold the shift key down and it will keep it locked in the aspect ratio. So I'm going to go just until I get rid of the yellow, like that. Okay. If I want to take a little bit more off, I can take some off the top as well. Okay, so now he's kind of starting to come into that third area. Okay, let's see how it looks this way. Okay, see how he feels closer now? Let's see about what happens if we crop it over here instead. So we keep him, now he's over this way with more space on this side. Okay, let's see how that one works. Do you see what I mean? I think we need the space on the left. Okay, so there's this area here acts like a leading line. Okay, the lines are pointing to him, and when we crop them out, we lose that element of design right there. Okay, so now we've got it cropped and we've solved at least one of the problems. Okay, all I've done so far is adjusted a few things in the basic editing. So now we can bring down the yellows. If I want to darken the yellow, I can bring up the oranges using the color mixer. Okay, so luminance. So HSL stands for hue, saturation, lightness. Luminance is luminance is like lightness. Okay, and it comes with this great targeted tool, this little circle here. So if I click on it and then click on the image, anywhere I click and hold, it's going to brighten or darken those tones. Okay, so this is doing yellow and orange. So if I want to darken that yellow a little bit, there we go. Let's say I want to brighten these tones. I'm still getting some of the oranges there. So I would actually probably darken this a little bit as well. And let's see if we can get this area. Look at how much blue there is there. See that? So it looks kind of blue, but you don't want to do stuff like this. You want to be very careful not to make it look fake, because that starts to look fake. Okay, so I want to take it down a little bit, but not too much. Okay, so see what that's doing? It's darkening those areas, okay? But I don't want to make it look obvious that I've done that, okay? It's affecting him a little bit, but I'm not too worried about that. Okay. And what about green? Okay, we could darken the green as well. Okay. So just using this tool has helped. Okay. Now we can get into what's called local adjustment. So everything we've done here is a global adjustment, which applies to the entire image. Then we need a local adjustment. Okay. Now I have used a lot of the new tools inside of Lightroom to use subject and background, and I created myself a preset that I use a lot, and it's just mask, subject, and background. Okay, so when I click on it, all that it does is it creates the masks called subject and background and names them for me. Okay, there's no edits applied. It's just creating the masks. Now you can see that it's not perfect, right? It's got a little bit of the moose, right? So I'd probably try to go in and remove him because I want to darken the background and add some texture to him, okay? So I would pick one of these masks. If one is not perfect, I would pick one and perfect it and then duplicate it and invert it instead of trying to recreate the wheel. So I might actually delete this one. Okay, so I'm going to go in here and add, and I'm going to use object, and I'm just going to paint over him so that it finds most of him. Okay, because it looks like it's missing a little bit of him. Got a little bit more of his head. Okay. Oh, that is the background. Okay, so I think we're okay there. It's missing the just top part of his antler there. So I could use a brush, set to auto mask. Again, zoom in so I just get his antler because I don't want the tree. And any parts that I've overpainted, like it's missing that there, right, I can subtract. So I'm doing a lot to perfect this mask here. So I get rid of anything that I don't want. Like in here, it's doing the background. So I spend time doing the mask and perfecting it once, right? Then you can duplicate or copy this tool, right? And just apply it with another thing using the same mask, okay? So I can reuse this mask. And it works a little bit differently in Luminar. You have to apply a tool first. So in Lightroom, you mask first and then you apply your edits. In Luminar, you apply the tool and then mask that tool. So now it looks like there's some green over here for some reason. So I'm just going to make sure it's not getting any of those trees. And that looks pretty good. Okay, so the auto mask is really great at finding the edges of things. Okay, so when you paint along it, it finds the edge. So now I'm really happy with how this mask has been perfected. Now I'm going to apply my edits, and this one I'm going to add some clarity. Let's see what it's doing. It's just affecting him, okay, and some texture. So we get some nice texture on him, okay. If I want to, I can punch up my highlights a little bit. And I think I'm fairly happy with that. Okay, so there's our moose. Okay, so I'm going to call this one moose. And now because I've spent time perfecting this one, I'm actually going to delete this one and use this one to make another mask. Okay, so when you click the three dots, duplicate and invert so it makes the same mask but opposite. Okay. And now I can see I've missed a little bit of his butt here. Okay, so I can still go in and using these brushes that I did before, oops, wrong one. Using these brushes that I created before, I can just go in and make sure. Where's my brush? Make sure that it's not, yeah, see, I need to fix that. Make sure that's not getting him, okay? Because I want to darken. Let's just see. I'll do another object. I'll do subtract object again. Make sure I get all of him. That's better. There we go. I see, and it got that little spot in there again, so I'll go and refine that as well. But what I want to do now is control the background. Okay, so I'm going to darken it. Look at what happens. Okay, so darkening it and adding black. So adding black adds depth. See the difference? Flat, way more depth. Okay, might even leave a little bit of highlights. Right, but once you've got it selected, you can do all kinds of things. Right, you can darken, you can lighten, you can blur, you can change the color. Right, if I want to add more color because it seems a little blue. Like so. A little too much black. There we go. Right, now we've solved most of the problems, but we still have this corner up here and this here. Right. Oh, unfortunately, there isn't such a thing in Lightroom, this new depth map that we have in Luminar. So I would have to do a lot more painstaking editing in here with masking, and I would probably do another one up here in this corner. So I would do another mask with a linear gradient up here and just kind of go like that and bring the highlights down in that area. So whites and highlights down, that's helping. Okay. I don't want to get him. Okay, so I have my mask set to be green on a black and white overlay. You can change that here. So I have color on a black and white overlay, so I can really, really see where the mask is. Okay, and I've played with different options, and that's the one that I like. Right, to get the mask to show up, I'm just pressing O on the keyboard. Right, you change the color here and the type here. Okay. Now I'm going to add a vignette, which I also have a preset for. So when I add the preset, it goes into the effects panel and it adjusts these sliders here. Okay. Now you cannot do an off-center vignette in Lightroom. If you want an off-center vignette, you have to use a radial mask. But look how far we've come. Okay. Pretty good. So I still have this tree in the background, and that's going to be a problem. And there isn't an easy way to solve that in Lightroom. We could try the lens blur tool. I'm not a fan of this tool. I don't think it does as good a job as the blur tools in Luminar. And it doesn't allow you to darken, right? You can actually blur, and I can set sort of the... I'm going to set here. Okay, so you can select where you want the sharpness. So I'm just going to draw a box over him saying I want him to be sharp. Okay, so now it's blurring in the background. Let's take it higher. And it's going to need some like adjusting because it's getting his, that's what I mean by it's not the greatest mask. It's still getting his antler, so it's not doing a great job of depth mapping, right? So I'd have to go in and manually focus his antler with this tool. So I don't use this one a great deal because I find that it's just not doing a good job here. It's missed there and it's got there, you know, and it's missed a whole bunch of stuff up here. So it's not the greatest tool, right? I could expand that a little bit backwards. So this is the depth in the map here, right? Or it's thinking that it's the depth in the scene, but it's not as good, right? Because his antlers are in front of him, so they should be sharp. And it also takes a really long time for this tool. You can see it constantly is doing analyzing, right? Every time I do a small adjustment, it analyzes again, right? So we're getting more of his antler, right? If I get this whole foreground didn't focus here, it should get more of his antler. But again, I still need to go in and do some editing on that one. So I'm not crazy about this tool, to be honest. Okay. Now I've also noticed that he's getting a little bit grainy because it was shot at a very high ISO. So I'd probably run this one through Lightroom's details, which is where you could find the raw denoise. Okay, this one works really, really well. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, it's probably better than what I will get out of Luminar. Let me run that. So 40 seconds. Okay, let me see if there's any questions. Let's see. between the ear and the horn. New pole on masking. The remove tool with AI would not work. To remove what, Karen? I'm not sure what I'm removing with that one. See how long this one takes? It takes quite a while, but it does a really good job. What's the poll on masking telling us, Rob? What are you asking them? We're almost there. And then I'm going to do this one in Luminar. Oh, remove the tree. Probably, but I'd have to do it really carefully, little bit by little. Okay, so now the denoise has been applied. Let's zoom in again. And it's kind of making his nose blurry. He actually looks blurry. Yeah, so I think it's gone too far with the noise, or we need to bring up some sharpening. So you kind of have to find this balance with this tool, because his nose, like the way that a lot of denoise tools work is they add blur, okay? So let's try adding some detail back in. And let's go like that. Okay, so we're adding some detail back with the sharpening. Automatically applied. Yeah, see, I'm not getting, it's actually not doing a good job. It's not doing as good a job as I anticipated, actually. Because it's blurring his nose too much. Let's just leave it a little bit lower. Okay. So somebody said they want to know how to get, or see if we get rid of the tree. Well, let's try. Okay, so if I use the new erase tool, I'm going to start without using it as AI. I'm just going to use the regular tool first. Okay, so I'm just going to start a little bigger. And whenever you do stuff that's like big like this, do it in sections. You'll get better results. Okay, which is what I talked about in the erase thing. Oh, that's actually kind of good because it just put a tree branch over it. Right? So I'll just do a few more spots. Refresh that one. It's not getting rid of the top one there. Okay, so it's not getting rid of it, so I might try heal instead. It just keeps putting another branch back in. There we go. Okay. And now let's do this section. It defaults to the remove tool, so if you want to use healing, you have to go in here and select it. Okay, I talked about this in the erase video. There we go. So see how I'm doing this section by section here? My painting was not very good there. Oh, that one looks good. Okay, let's do this one. Not bad. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. Okay, so that's not bad. That's not bad. And then I just have to be really careful around his antler there. Okay, that's not bad. Then I just have to deal with the bright spots on this side. So see how it's kind of painstaking? We got to do this little by little. And there isn't like an easy way to just say, yeah, remove the whole thing. And I got to be really careful up here. So when you're trying to erase around something like this, you have to really be careful that you don't get the antler, okay? So I'm going to get as close as I can. And I use usually a Wacom tablet or a graphics tablet. It's actually not a Wacom tablet. It's an off-brand one. I'm going to get this one while I'm in here too. Okay, this area could probably be darkened using another method, But let's just see what happens when I go on the edge like that. That's not bad. I mean, it kind of, you know, I want to make sure it doesn't affect his antler too much. That's not bad. I don't know if this is going to work in here at all. Because I don't know what's... Yeah, see, it's not going to work in there because it doesn't know what I want to put there. Okay, but that's not bad. So how long did I spend doing that? So I had to remove the tree with the tool. Okay, so great idea, Karen. Just painstaking. Okay, now let's hop over and do the same image in Luminar. Okay, so I believe I already have it in Luminar. I don't have to open it. Let me just go over to Luminar. I just have to find it. He's probably in here somewhere. Where's Mr. Moose? I don't see him. I just have to find out where he is. He's under Add Contrast. Okay. He's in here. There he is. Okay. So let me just add him to this. I made a little album. So they're all in here. Oops. Where did he go? Where did he go? See, I dragged him in there, and I have my album set to only show images that are flagged as a pic, and he disappeared. There he is. Okay, so let's do the same thing, right? It's a raw file. We're going to do develop raw. We're going to pick... I chose portrait on that one. So let's keep it consistent. Let's choose portrait again, okay? He already looks sharper in here for some reason. I don't know why, but he looks uber sharp. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing. Now, there isn't a way to do the shift double click in here. So I'm going to show you another trick. You open the curves tool and you just drag in the bottom until you start to see some clipping, okay? And then just bring it back. And the same thing with black. Okay, if you want to go slower, curves takes it fast. Blacks and whites, sliders just goes a little bit slower. Okay. Now, what did I do next? I added some clarity. I'll add a little bit of sharpness here. Okay, now we can do some noise reduction on him and the raw stage. Okay, right here. So we can do a little bit of noise reduction here. That looks pretty good. All right, now there isn't a clarity or a texture slider in Luminar that comes to structure AI. Okay, so I'm going to come back to that one. We can also do smart contrast, which does a nice job. Okay. And I think I darkened him overall. We also adjusted his color, right? So we have the same options here. I think I went with shade. Okay, and there we have brown mouse. Okay. He seems really, really crunchy in here. I don't know why. Maybe I've edited him before. Nope. He just seems really crunchy. Okay, so now I want to add some structure. Remember, just to him though. Okay, so remember in Luminar, you have to apply the tool first and then mask it. Okay, in Lightroom, it's the opposite. You mask first and then apply whatever you want to it. Okay, so in here, I'm going to do mask AI and see if it finds him. It doesn't. Okay, so instead, I'm going to do object. I wish it had an animal find, but look at that. That's pretty good. Still that area in amongst his antlers is the problem. So I can just refine it with a brush. Again, always zoom in when you're doing this kind of fine work. Okay, so when you want to get into small areas, make sure you use a smaller brush and zoom in. Okay, so I'm using a smaller brush and I changed the brush size using the keyboard shortcuts. it's easier to see the brush size and change the size when it's on the picture than trying to use the sliders over here because you can't see how big you need it to be. Okay. Now I'm missing this part up here again. I want to get all of his antlers. I want to get all of his ear. And it looks like it's missing part of his butt again. So it looks like they both had the same challenge defining the edge of the moose, which is interesting. Okay. They both had problems here and over here. Okay. So I'm just going to view the mask, see how well I've done. Oh, see, I still need a little more erasing up here. A little more erasing. So again, fine type of work when you zoom in. When you're masking, get it right the first time. Okay, so again, I'm doing the time, spending the time to get this right, because then I can copy it and use it again. So spend the time on your mask. Okay. See how I'm just getting the ends of his antlers, everything that's missing his ear over here, missing his ear over here. Oh, missing his ear over there. Tip of the antler. Okay, so spend your time getting it right. Now, if you have something that has a straight line, let me show you a little trick, because there is a trick. Okay, so if I wanted to paint something in a straight line, which I don't necessarily have here, okay, I'll just show you a trick and then I'll erase it. Okay. I could go along the edge of his antler here. Okay, so if you want to, I'll just do it here. Okay, so I'm going to paint it 100% just to show you. Okay, so if you click, oops, I did a click. So if you click here and then shift click, you get a straight line. Okay, so the second one, I'm holding my shift key down. And when I click the second time, it makes a straight line. Okay, so we're getting all of him. Okay, I'm not going to spend a lot more time on this, but just understand that I would spend time doing this mask. And you'll notice that I had to do the same kind of refinements on both Lightroom and Luminar. So they both struggled in the same areas. Okay, so now that I've got my mask well done, I'm going to copy it, because then I can use this mask again on other things. Okay, so now I'm applying some structure on him. Okay, and then I can do structure again, but this time apply it minus, so I'm lessening the structure or lowering, paste in the mask, okay, and then invert it. Okay, so exactly like I did in Lightroom, just different terms. Okay, so now I'm minimizing or softening everything else for details. Okay, so it's lowering some details. Okay, likewise, we can do the same with the details tool. Okay, I also want to crop it the same as I did the other one. So I'm going to maintain the aspect ratio. Luminar does that for you automatically unless you choose free. Okay, so in Lightroom, it's the lock. On here, it's the, you have to choose free. So I'm going to go until I get rid of that yellow grass like that. And we came in a little bit more to get him off center. Oh, we want the other way though. There we go. We want him over here. Like so. Okay, so I think that's about the same cropping, I think. It'll probably be pretty close. Okay, there we go. All right, now I can do a vignette. Now, remember, vignettes in Luminar can be off center. So I'm going to make this one smaller and rounder and put it around him. Doesn't quite get as round as I'd like it, so. And I don't want to darken these trees over here because they're already fairly dark, right? I want to darken the foreground and all of this stuff around, okay? So when you're positioning it, just change the crosshairs a little bit at a time. See that? So wherever I click, it centers it on where I've clicked, okay? Then I bring the feather back up and adjust the amount. Okay, so this one actually does a much nicer job because I can control where it goes. In Lightroom, I would have to do that with a radial filter. Okay. Now, what we did with the color grading tool in Lightroom, we can do here as well. We have HSL. So the only thing is we don't have the targeted tool, but we know that the grass is yellow. So I can just drag the grass down. If I want to darken the greens. Honestly, I actually like brightening the greens and darkening the yellows, okay? Because then it minimizes that grass, but brings a little bit of texture out in the background, right? In terms of orange, notice how he's got a lot of orange in him here, okay? So the advantage of this one is that I can actually use the mask. So if I want to darken orange, but not darken him, okay, I can use that mask. So paste the mask, remember, invert, okay? So now it's adjusting everything except him, okay? I think we did blue a little bit on that path as well. There we go. This one seems to blend a little bit nicer than Lightroom did. When I drag the blues down, Lightroom gave a really, really obvious outline. And this one, not so much. So I like that a lot better. Okay. So we're getting close. Okay, now with the blur tool, we don't have, we can't use Portrait Bokeh because it's not a person. It only applies on people, unfortunately. But we can use the new light depth tool, right? So let's use that to light him up. It's going to light this tree over here as well. Let's narrow the beam. There we go. Okay, so it's lighting him up. And look at, now we can just darken the background and the trees, these trees over here, not such a big deal. Okay. The foreground is still a little too bright. Maybe I'll just get it a little more focused on him. There we go. Okay. And if I don't want it on this tree over here, I could kind of mask it a little bit, but I think I just want to lower the intensity. I don't want it quite so intense. But look at how dramatic we can go with this one. Okay, if we want to, that background is completely minimized. But I'm just going to go maybe 40%, about like that. Okay, but look what it's doing. It's doing a great job darkening this path, brightening the moose, okay, and minimizing this background. Let's darken it even more. There we go. Actually, I don't mind brightening the foreground. We can also warm it up and warm up the light on him. Okay, so we can do a whole bunch of things at once. Look at what it's doing. How great is that? Now, I don't know that I have to go and remove those trees, okay? Because he stands out really great. One thing I am curious about, though, is does it think that that path is water? Okay, if I go to water enhancer, yep, it does. Let's see. No. It should pick up anything that's water. Nope, doesn't see it as water. Okay, it was a chance. All right, so there, okay. And now if I want to darken just this side, we can do the same thing. Just go and use develop. And I'm just going to darken. And it's just this right side that I want to fix here. So I'm just going to use a linear gradient and like so. Okay, so just, it's probably too dark. Just want to minimize the highlights on that tree. Okay, while I'm there, I might want to actually add to it. So if you do a second linear gradient, it'll add to it. See that? Let's go like that. There we go. So now there's our moose. I haven't done anything to blur the background. If we want to attempt that, I can try the blur tool, right? And just Gaussian blur. And now when I do the mask, though, it's going to just paste in just the moose, right? We need to keep him sharp, But also, when you're doing something like this, you need the foreground to be sharp as well, like where he's standing, okay? So I'm going to add a linear gradient. So, let's invert that. No, that didn't work. That didn't work. Let's just fill that. Okay, so I'm going to object select. I want to subtract it from him. There we go. And then I'm going to do linear gradient. Maybe I need to do the linear gradient first. Let's do this again. Okay, linear gradient. So it's going to make the blur there, and then invert it. So now blur is here. There we go. Okay, so my blur is going to start about there. Okay. And then I need to get it off of him. So object select. Right. Again, it's not perfect because we need to fix the mask around there. So I need to do some minor painting, and then this tree over here as well. So let's go. Probably a radial gradient. No. So I definitely need to do some work on this one to get the mask just right, to blur just that background area. Okay. Because he's got his antlers too blurry and so on. Okay. So I need to do some serious work here. Right. But let's just see how it's doing on the actual. Right, I'll get these branches and so on. Okay, so do some work on this. That's getting there, actually. Make sure I got his butt. I don't know why it doesn't like to mask his butt. And we need to get in here. So it always misses this spot and that spot. But what is it doing on those trees? Is it doing a good job on those trees? I think so. Okay, still needs a little bit more work here around him. But we're getting close. Missing an antler. Getting close. How does that look? Okay, so I'm literally just blurring the background part, okay, and not the foreground. Okay, so I'll do a little bit more work on this tree to get these branches sharp. Okay. Make sure that, there we go. That's not too bad. Okay. And you can see what it's doing. So again, if I want to really take it up high to get the mask right, and then dial it back down. Okay. I could also try, motion. Right. So motion makes like an up and down or a side to side blur, which is kind of a neat effect, actually. Look at that. We're kind of just blurring the forest. Not crazy about it. Okay, so there is our moose in Luminar. Okay. Just need a little bit more masking, and I don't think I need to erase those because they're sort of minimized now. But if I want to minimize them even more, I would just use the clone tool. Okay, so same as I did in Lightroom, but instead of erasing, I would just use the clone tool at a lower opacity just to minimize them. Okay, so that's all I'm doing there. Just like that. Okay, so minimize the bright spots. And once they're blurry, it's easier to minimize, right? There we go. Much better. Okay. All right, let's see. Daryl from Comox finally got on to chat. Yay! Hi, Daryl. The replay happens immediately following, Bob. As soon as the live stream is done, it's available to watch. So if you missed the beginning, you can go back and watch it. Were you not able to apply the mask you refined on the moose towards the beginning? I did the first mask in Lightroom, and then the second one I did in Luminar. So anything I do in Luminar, I can copy the mask forward, which I did. So which thing were you talking about, Sheila? Because I did use the mask a couple of times. So let's just take a look. Let's compare. So we've got before and after in Luminar. And let's compare to the Lightroom one. Where's our finished one? So there's our finished one in Lightroom. He feels a little bit red to me. He feels a little bit red, so maybe I'll just dial out some magenta yellow. I don't like his color as much in Lightroom at all. He feels red to me. Right? And the background is still pretty bright. Right? Not bright, but just contrasty. Like, he doesn't stand out as much. When we flip it over to Luminar, he stands out way more. Okay? And I might dial this blur down a little bit. I don't want to blur it as much. But he stands out way more in Lightroom than he does in, or in Luminar than he does in Lightroom because of that light tool, right? So look at the difference one more time. So there's, I dialed the blur back a little bit. So there's the Luminar one. There's the Lightroom one. Yeah, this one feels way more contrasty. So maybe I went a little far on this one. But he definitely does not stand out as much. I could come back here and say, okay, I'm going to brighten him a little bit more. That's better. And then I really have to go in and refine that mask better because it's picking up the antlers. But I don't know. I don't like the color of that one as much as this. I like this a lot better. Which one do you guys like? When you were taking the grass off the moose legs, the same mask you had made in Luminar. I'm not sure, Sheila. I know that I copied and pasted it a couple of times, but it was more around the antlers that was the problem. It actually did a really good job around his legs. I think let's zoom in here because I think we could do some noise reduction on this one as well, right? So if I want to try the noise AI, I could try noise AI on this one. It's recommending high. Let's just see what happens. Now this one's going to take... Oh, I was going to say it takes a while, but let's just see. Yeah, see, it's doing too much, and this is what I mean by it's blurring, right? So it just looks blurry. Let's try medium. Medium is better, but look at how it's blurring the same area, his nose and his body here, right? I'm actually going to just go low. And we've got some, let's keep the detail. As you increase the detail, you get the noise back, right? So low detail, it's blurry. High detail, you get the noise back. And the same with sharpness. So you kind of, it's this dance, right? That we have to do. Yeah, it's making it too blurry, I think. I'm just going to keep it low, okay? I'm going to keep it low. I find that the actual, this one, denoise, I find this one actually does a better job, to be honest. I'm not a fan of noiseless AI. See, I think that one's doing a better job without blurring it. But there's still lots of noise in here, right? And that's because it was 8,000 ISO, right? So what do you expect? Karen says Luminar color looks better. Evelyn says Luminar. Sheila says Luminar. Larry says Luminar. Marguerite. And Kevin, who is purple guy. So yeah, I think the Luminar one wins hands down. Partly because of that really nice background blur I was able to get. If I wanted to do the same background blur here, I would have to go into Photoshop. I think that's, yeah, I think this is what's making it look muddy here. Yeah. Yeah, it just looks muddy. I don't know. I don't like this color at all. Right. I know that when I was using Canon raw files, when I shot Canon, I did not like the color of the Canon files at all. Let's look at Nancy's little chipmunk and let's see what we can do with this one, because it's very similar. We've got another fall image, and these were shot a while ago and submitted a while ago. Let's see. Marguerite says, is it possible to do noise reduction and mask it off the moose's nose? Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and I actually considered that, but the problem is that's where the noise is, right? So I could mask it off of his nose and his, that's a tongue twister. Mask the noise off of his nose. Say that fast 6 times, right? But then he would still have noise on his nose. Topaz Photo AI would work wonders. Yeah, I would have. I got to get my hands on that one, Thomas, because I need to get an updated version of that. But I'm hoping to do that and get a review of the new Topaz Photo AI, because historically Topaz noise reduction has been, you know, some of the best on the market, right? Masking vote final results. 18% of you are comfortable with your skills, while 82% could use some more practice. Well, I hope that this helps. We actually did an entire live stream on masking. If you want to share that one, Rob, as well, that link. So let's take a look at this little chipmunk guy. Okay, so we're here in Luminar. I forgot where we are. We're here in Luminar. And it is a RW file, which is, I believe, Sony. So let's see if there is a, yeah, scenery. So look at that. Look at what it does to the scenery. I almost never do vivid. And part of the thing is we want to make sure that the chipmunk stands out while we still have some of these colors, right? So definitely scenery is bringing out everything. So I'm going to start with scenery, and then we'll do some darkening of the background. Okay, so we definitely want to bring him out. He's pretty small as well. Exposure is good. You know, if we bring the highlights down, we get sort of more sky color. But overall, I think that it's really good. You know, are we clipping anything? A little bit in the sky, but I'm not worried about that. I'll add a little bit of black and maybe brighten it overall. Right. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to darken the whole thing, and then we're going to brighten just for the chipmunk. Okay, so I'm keeping the whole image rather dark, and then I'll brighten for him. Okay, and let's try warming him up a little bit. Feels a little bit red. How's that? That's not bad. Okay, so there we have... And I don't think we have any noise in this one, I don't think. No, looks pretty good. Don't know what ISO this one was at. If you want to check your ISO, unfortunately you have to go back to the catalog in Luminar. This one was 125. So yeah, not an issue on that one. Okay, so we've applied develop. Now I'm going to brighten him, but I can't go develop raw and mask it until I apply something else. So I'm going to go structure first. So if you want to mask develop, you have to apply something in between. So I'm just going to do a quick radial gradient. So I want to add some structure to this section. Okay, so your eye goes to things of detail. We talked about the bright areas drawing attention in the one of the girl. Okay, so your eye goes to areas that are bright, that are sharp, that are intensely colored, okay, and have the most contrast. So the color in the background here is going to be the issue, right? So I'm going to add some structure just to this area. See that? So it brings out some detail in this area, okay? And then we can do the opposite. So I could copy that if I want, but I'm not too critical on that one, right? Then I'm going to go to develop, and I want to brighten the chipmunk and darken the background. So I can do develop twice. So I'm going to darken the background. Let's just do that. And then I'm going to try object select. No. Oh, maybe. No, not going to work. It wants the whole thing. Okay, so object select is not working. I could try mask AI, and I don't know if it's going to pick up that tree. It's probably, if I do architecture. Ah, interesting. So it thinks it's architecture. Okay, and then Flora is probably going to get everything else. Yeah, exactly. So let's just go with architecture, and then I can just brush it in a little bit, right? Oh, except we want the opposite. We're darkening, right? So I want all of this. I want all of this tree. Make sure I get it. And I don't want these bits. Yeah, see, I've got all kinds of stuff up here. Don't want that. Okay, I'm doing a really rough job here. And then, of course, I need to invert it. Okay, so invert. Okay, so because we're darkening on this one. So darkening the background. Okay, let's copy this mask. And then I can do develop again. And this time we're going to brighten. And paste. Oops. Oh, I copied the mask. So now I got to go back and get the other mask. Go back to the previous one again. Copy the mask. Paste it in here. There we go. Okay, so now we're brightening here. And if I don't want to brighten all the way over there, of course, I just have to go and adjust the mask. Okay. Keep it darker over here. Okay. So I'm just brightening him. Okay, so I used that mask to brighten him. Oh, we could probably crop in a little bit because he's very small in the frame. So let's come in and let's do composition AI and see what Luminar thinks is a good crop. So when you press this button, it will give you, I find it usually comes in about a third, 30%. Okay, let's put him sort of on that third right there. And let's see how that looks. I might even come in a little tighter yet, right? Let's just come even tighter. I'm keeping the aspect ratio, okay? But if I want to change it, we just have to go to free, right? Because maybe I don't want so much of the bottom. Let's make it a little bit more panoramic, okay? And there he stands out a lot more, okay? So before and after. Now I have not used the light tool, so we could try that one on him as well, okay? I could see myself using this tool a lot. There he is. So you see how you gotta manipulate it to get it the light where you want it. Now it's lighting up too much of that part of the tree. Right there. There we go. So now he's really being lit up. So look at that. Look at how we control the background. Didn't even need to mask it. I should have just come here first. Should have come here first. Okay, and I'm just going to dial it back ever so slightly. There we go. Look at that. Should have come here first. So before and after. I might come back and do a regular crop. I want to put him sort of on that third. What if we go square on this one? Let's try something different. What if I go square? No. I like trying different crops. No, didn't like the square. Let's go original. I still like the panoramic idea. I think that one works best. Like so. Oh, Nancy's here. Yay. Yeah, what a difference, hey? Wait till you get to play with this tool. I love that you got him with his like the nut right in his mouth. That's a really good shot. So yeah, pull this one back out of your archives, Nancy, and work on that. And I haven't even done anything with the color tool, right? We could still come in here and work on the color of the background, but look at what a great job it did, right? I'm inclined to even, you could use dramatic on this one, which also plays in with the light, right? So dramatic tends to lower saturation and adds like local contrast, so you can really control, again, where the eye goes. I like this idea here, so that works well for this one. Okay, so the tools that you can use in Lightroom or in Luminar while we're here to add light, right? You could do glow to add some light. You can use develop and mask it in, right? You can use color, right? If I want to brighten the yellows, right? I could bring out the yellows a little bit more, right? Or the greens, right? I like to brighten one and darken the other. I don't know why. I always do that with orange, with yellow and green. Okay, so we could adjust colors that way. You can adjust light with a vignette. And we haven't even talked much about these ones here because they don't really control light. Twilight Enhancer does if you have a horizon in your image. It does a really nice job there. But light depth is going to be like the absolute one that you want. But don't forget about dramatic. Don't forget about studio light, because you can even add studio light on images that are not portraits, right? So this one actually works well too, right? Like if we just want to add a little bit of light on him, right? Let's make it warmer. Let's say I want a little bit of golden light on this chipmunk here, okay? So now we're just adding a little bit of golden light on him. And I could even just mask it in so it's just spotlighting him. Okay? And really keep it tight on him. Okay, so studio light, don't forget about studio light as well. If you have people, face light, we'll add face light to the face. So on this one that we did earlier, okay, so I didn't use studio light on this one, but I certainly could. Okay, face light adds light to the face. It's kind of like adding a reflector, right? And studio light on this one, right? Positioning is a big thing, so you really want to take a look at where it gets positioned, because I want to actually just add, I don't want to add light down there, okay, but I want to add it, say for example, to the side of her face that's the darkest. Right, see what that's doing. And I could mask it off the bottom here, but I could also make it a little bit warmer, so give her a little bit of golden light as well. Okay. So studio light does a nice job as well. In Lightroom, basically you just have your masks, right? The only thing you can use to control light in Lightroom is masks. To some degree, the erase tool as well, like we did on the tree. So I had to erase the tree behind the moose in Lightroom, but I minimized it in Luminar, okay? So there's pros and cons of each program, and it's great to use the one I use Lightroom as my base, and then I will take it to Luminar to do portrait retouching, for example. Like I haven't done anything on her face, and I would, do things like take the circles on her eyes and possibly even, light up her eyes a little bit more and so on, right? Give her some brown eyes, like so. Okay. I also don't like her lipstick color, so I might go in here and just add some red to it or shift it. So I'm really not a fan of her lipstick color, right? So I could shift it with the color tool, and if it's affecting other parts of the image, just mask it to her lips, because I find her lips are orange, right? I want to give them a little bit more pink color. There we go. So I'm just going to paint it in just onto her lips. Okay. So you'll notice that I keep changing my softness of my brush. Okay. So when I want to paint a defined outline, I lower the softness because I don't want to get it outside of her lips, really. Okay. I don't even know if that's better. Is it better? Maybe just desaturate them a little bit. There we go. That's better entirely. There we go. Fixing her teeth as well. Yeah, I'm not a fan of her lip color, to be honest. And of course, skin AI, right? So this is just secondary, right? So there's our full before and after on that one. Let's wait for it to before. Wait for it to load. Before and after on that one. And our little chipmunk. Thomas says, I've now completed courses for On1 Photo Raw, Lightroom Classic, and my Luminar 2025. Having done that, I'm really getting a boost from the synergism among the three. I like that. Nice word. Nice word. Awesome. So you're incorporating all three together into your workflow, Thomas? And which one are you using as your main editor? I'm curious. Okay. Do we want to do one more in Lightroom before we sign out? Let me see what else I've got in here, because I made a quick collection here. Let me go up here. Let's see. I want to do one of these from Japan real quick, because this is one I shot in Japan, and I'll show you what I would do in an image like this in the Lightroom, and then when I would take it over to Luminar. Okay. I wish I shot this straighter. I shot obviously crooked, so I need to fix that, and unfortunately I'm going to lose some of this red over here. Okay. I want to come at the bottom. I don't want to get the bottom of it. Yeah, see, I've still got this thing on the bottom there. Okay, so I'm going to start with that, but I want to bring her out. Okay, so I'm going to use I usually use Astia or Provia. I have Fuji color profiles. I generally don't use the Vivid. And I want to do my shift double click trick. Now notice that the white came all the way down. That's because probably the umbrella is clipping. Yes, it is. So I'm just going to lower the highlights. Okay. And I'm actually not going to worry about that umbrella too much. Okay. Because if I darken it, it gets too shadowy. So I actually don't mind it. I just want to bring her out a bit more. Okay. And I'm going to get rid of this thing in the bottom as well. And let's warm her up a little bit. Let's go daylight. Daylight, I find in Photoshop or in Lightroom usually adds too much pink or magenta, so I usually dial that back down. Okay, now we can do select people in here. So I'm going to do a little bit of clarity, keep it low. I'm going to do my edge vignette. Okay, so already that's looking pretty good, right? Okay, already pretty good. A little bit dark on the background. I want to keep it so that it's not quite so shadowy. So I'm going to back off a little bit on the blacks. Okay, so already looking pretty good, right? I can use the remove tool to get rid of this thing down here. Let's just see if it does a good job. See how it doesn't kind of remove it completely unless you do generative remove. If I go generative remove, it'll be gone in an instant, like in a second. Okay, so you can certainly use generative remove. There we go, right? When I use it for removing stuff, I generally don't add things, okay? Now I want to darken this tree down, okay? So I could do that a couple of different ways. I can select her, I want to brighten her, and I want to darken the tree. So let's do a mask, and let's select people. It's detecting people, but I don't want to get the umbrella, okay? So I want to get all of her, and let's just see. Yeah, see, it's like selecting the umbrella as part of her, which is weird, okay? I don't know why, but let's just do all of these things individually and see if I can get it to not pick the umbrella. There we go. It's picking something in the background over here. Okay, so let's just see what it looks like now. Okay, so I need to minus this thing out over here. I don't know what the heck that is. Let's just get rid of that. Something in the background. Okay, so notice how when I did select all, it selected the umbrella as well. So I had to do every single thing individually. Now, right? Now I can just press H to see the dots go away. Now I can brighten her, but you want to be careful of flattening people out because when you brighten them, so it looks like it's not getting her lips as much. I always add some black back in, okay? So I brighten, I add white as well to keep the highlights up. So when I'm brightening, it looks realistic, okay? Okay, now I've brightened her too much over there. And again, I'm okay with the little bit of clipping on the highlights there. Okay, I just want to keep the contrast on her. In terms of the trees over here, honestly, I would probably just do a really quick linear gradient over here like this. Okay. And what I could do is an intersection, okay? So Lightroom has really complex masks in that I could use an intersection. So I could say I want to intersect with, and then I could choose either a landscape element like trees, or I could just say luminance range. So I really want to darken only the parts that are the brightest or the parts that are pink. Let's just try landscape, and I'm going to see if it picks up like trees. Okay, it should. So what it's going to do is only darken the things that are vegetation inside that area. Okay, so inside the part, do I want natural ground as well? Yeah, let's do natural ground. Okay, inside the where I put this mask. Okay, somehow it didn't add vegetation. Interesting. Let me delete natural ground. There we go. Okay, so that's better. So now, because I did this linear gradient first, it's basically it's eliminated the architecture here, okay? It's getting a little bit of that post, but let's just see how it goes. So I'm just going to darken. That looks pretty good. I want to get that bright spot there. So let's see if nope, it's not getting that bright spot. So I'm going to add, I'm just going to use a brush, set to auto mask. Auto mask is great because it fills in spaces for you. Okay, it looks for spaces. There we go. Okay, so immediately we've removed this thing in the corner, distraction, straightened the image, okay? And there's a little bit of brightness, like this looks fake now, like this looks almost too dark. So I'm going to scale that back actually, because I've gone too far, I think. I might have to do that one square separately because I don't want to go so far to make the trees look so flat. Okay. And there she stands out. Okay. I would probably do one more darkening on this column here. So I might just do object select, right? And object select works pretty well in Lightroom as well. So you can either draw a square over it or just draw over it, and it analyzes and looks for the edges of things, right? So again, I'm just going to darken a little bit just to blend a little bit better with these other ones in the background. Okay, so now she is really standing out, right? See that? I'm going to add that to my gallery. Now, interestingly enough, she is not a geisha girl. She's actually a girl from China. You get a lot of Chinese tourists in Japan dressing up, and she paid for a photo shoot. So she actually had a photographer doing photos for her, right? So there, let's just do, oops. There's the full, oops. Apparently I can't do before and after. Apparently I can't do before and after full screen. Nope, doesn't want to do full screen. So there's the before and after. Pretty happy with that. Okay. Can I explain what the update mask button does? Okay, so if this one here, you mean? Update here? If I do something where, now that I've got the masks in place, let's just say I try to clone something again. So I'm just gonna clone this spot out over here, okay? So now you get this warning saying that you have to update the mask. So anytime you do anything, usually with cloning, if I used the lens blur tool, cloning, those are usually the things that trigger it. Anytime I've used any kind of AI in the masking, it needs to be updated again, okay? And they've changed this here. They moved it here now. So you don't actually have to open the mask and do it there. And it'll update everything. If I switch this to adaptive color, for example, I'll probably get the same message. Yikes. That's weird. that's no bueno. Let's undo that. Sometimes adaptive color works, sometimes it doesn't. Does that answer your question, Kevin? So the update thing appears here whenever you do typically cloning or something where the mask is using AI and it needs to update the AI portion, right? So I think that's, I could do one more maybe even, right? Another one that I took in Japan, he was our guide for the day in Kyoto. He took us around to different places. And what I would want to do here is the same kind of thing. Again, I want to darken the background so he stands out. He's also really blue, so I'm going to make him not so blue. Right? And I have a preset, which is light subject and darken background. Right? And again, all I've done was I went through the process of doing mask subject, and then I applied some edits, saved it as subject. So it's brightening the subject. Okay. And then I did mask background and applied some darkening. And I'm just going to take this one even farther, right? To darken, right? Then I need my edge vignette. I still feel like he's blue. And I'm going to do my shift double click on here. It still thinks there's something too bright. Aha. So his profile, right around his profile, is still too bright. Let's brighten it overall. Actually, I don't mind it being really dark, and I kind of see this one as a black and white, right? So light, if you're having trouble seeing the light, this is actually a great exercise, is to look at your images in black and white, right? And I'm going to crop this one a little bit tighter. And there we have it, right? So before and after. Black and white really helps you see the light. I think we have an article on the website, Rob, about shooting in monochrome. I think it might have been a challenge. And it helps you see the light, right? Do it in Neo. Do which one? I don't have this one in Neo, sorry. I would have to take it to Neo. Now on Lightroom, right, you can copy and paste your settings in either Lightroom or Luminar. And if I go to the next one, which is similar but not exact, because it's using a mask AI to select subject and select background, I should get pretty close, right? Now it did apply a crop. I'm just gonna play with it a little bit more, and let's come in a little bit tighter. Okay, so he needs to be brightened a little bit more. So I would come back in here and just do a little more brightening on the subject. And I'm not happy with the lighting on his face here. So honestly, this is not, like, if I bring this one into Luminar, I think I would actually do a better job of this one, right? And because I can use that either studio light, or I kind of like this one. Yeah, see, I like it better in black and white. But I want to darken his jacket. So notice when you darken the orange, it's the face as well. That's, no, I'm not crazy about it, to be honest. I might stick with that. Right, so if I take this one into Luminar, I think I could probably do a better job of lighting his face. I'm still not crazy about the color. All right, so I can take it from here into, so I can start there or I can start here. Okay, so if I'm happy with this, I can take this into Luminar. I might come even tighter to get rid of that roof line. Okay, so see how I saw that roof line up there? It's just a light area, and I just want to make sure that he's the brightest thing in the scene, but I want to light him up a little better. So let's go. I would normally take this to Photoshop, but I'm going to go straight to Neo, just in the essence of time. And I want to, oh, this is interesting. This is interesting. This is new. This is new. Interesting. This is the new Photoshop. New Lightroom. I have not seen this yet. Okay, this is interesting. So I'm going to take this into Luminar directly, just to use the studio light or the light depth tool. Let's see which one works better. Do you mean the new one, Paul? When will you get your hands on this tool? They've just said November, okay? So we don't know when in November, but we just know November. That's it. Okay, so let's try. Now I'm thinking studio light because I want to get more specific light on his face. And I want to control the direction of it a little better. So I want to do, yeah, see, I want to get some light in his eyes, right? And I'm not too concerned about what it's doing anywhere else. So see, it's a little bit better, but it's getting too much of his jacket and stuff. So I would mask it to just his face here and probably dial this down a little bit. Let's give him a warmer color. Yeah, he feels like he's a weird color. Let's give him a little bit sort of pink. There we go. That's better. And then I'm just going to mask it to just his face. So I just want it on his face. Okay. Okay, so I'm not getting his jacket brighter. Okay. Now he's clipping a little bit overall, so I'd probably come in here and just bring the highlights down. And there we go. See, I'm just lowering the highlights, and also the face tools in the portrait area under skin. You've got the remove shininess or shine removal, which also helps with those highlights. Okay, you see that? If I zoom in here, he's a little grainy as well. I think I took this at a high ISO. It was actually raining when we were at this temple. Okay, I could smooth him a little bit as well, which helps actually with the graininess, the noise, right? And face AI. So let's do face. I want to brighten his teeth a little bit. Don't need to give him lipstick. maybe darkening the lips just a bit. Okay, and let's whiten the eyes. Let's not go crazy. I don't mind the circles under his eyes. We could give him some darker eyebrows, which will help him stand out. And I might change his eye color. Now, I think he's got brown eyes. So when I do the eye color change, what I'm looking for is just to change the pupils, okay? So I'm going to drag this up so you can see what it's doing. So look at his eyes, okay? So it's the same eye color. It's just really fixing the issue of not being able to see the irises, okay? See that? So it's actually doing a really nice job there, okay? I don't want to do enlarge eyes on him because I don't want to make him look non-Asian, right? This kind of tends to look really fake. For somebody who's squinty, it actually works fairly well, but I don't want to make him not look like himself, okay? So if anything, I would just have this really, really low, okay? If somebody is in the sun and they're squinting, this can work well. Okay, so that's helping, okay? And then let's go and try light depth. Okay, so light depth. Oh, wow. Look at that. Look at that. Okay, now it's getting a lot of his jacket, which I don't want. Okay, so I got to try and minimize the light on his jacket. But when I go here, look what it's doing. It's getting this side of his face, which was in shadow, which is really great. Okay, I can also warm it up so he's got some warmer light on him, right? You can see what it's doing. Just ever so slightly warm. We can darken the background and the foreground. And if I don't want it as much on his jacket, I can just do an erase on these highlight areas here because I don't want to light up his jacket or this part, right? Because we're getting too many highlights here. Look at that. Wow. Yeah, I'm in love with this tool. I swear. I'm in love with this tool because not only is it solving the problem of the bad light on his face because there wasn't enough coming from. I should have had him turned more, which is why I did the other one with the profile. Okay, it's done a really, really nice job here. I could do a little bit of denoise on him. Let's just see how bad the noise is. It's fairly sharp noise though, so I could actually go this way, or I could go the other way. Sometimes I'll add green, and we could try actually converting this one to black and white and see if it does any. It's not really doing all that much, is it? I don't think it's doing all that much. Let's try noiseless AI. Also, I've found that using details and doing minus details in there works well on minusing small details in certain areas to take away some noise. Because noise is generally, you're seeing it sort of as texture, right? Oh, that's doing a nice job, actually. Look at the noise on him. Yeah. That's doing a nice job. And what I usually do, I should have done blemish removal here. So I didn't do blemish removal on his skin. So I'll just come back and apply it one more time and see if we can get some of those bumps. I didn't see them as blemishes. Interesting. So I might have to remove those with an eraser, but what I do on almost every portrait is I will apply Orton effect. Let's see what it looks like in black and white in here. Yeah, see, it brightens his jacket too much. Still feels flat. Yeah, I don't like this one as much. Let's try color. And let's try darkening the orange. I'm afraid that it's going to go on his face as well, but in the Luminar, we have the ability to mask it. So I can mask it to just his clothes, right? In Lightroom, you don't have the ability of masking the HSL tool, which has been a pet peeve of mine forever. However, you can apply a point color and do it that way. Okay, so I'm just trying to adjust this color of his shirt. We can actually completely change the color. Look at, we can make it more green, right? Yeah, see, there's some color in there as well. So we could make his jacket green. That's actually kind of interesting. So we could totally change the color of his jacket. Okay. Let me reset this and just do this. I want to get like a blue jacket. That's interesting. Purple. He's not looking so good. Even just shifting it a little bit that way. I just wasn't crazy about his color of his jacket. Okay, and then of course I need to get it off of his face. So I only want it on the jacket. So I'm just going to do jacket. See that? So it's only affecting his jacket. Didn't get all of his sleeve. Let's just get all of that down in there. So I just shifted the color of his jacket a little bit. Okay. Now, if I wanted to go to black and white though, okay, if I shift it to, let's just say purple, okay. I'm going to shift it to green, okay. Let's say his jacket is now green, okay. That's actually not bad. That's actually not bad. It's lime green, but eeks. Lime green. Okay, so if I go to black and white now, and I see I've missed some of his jacket now, so we need to get that part over here. There we go, missed that part. Oops, and it's getting too much of his pants over here. Don't want to get his hand. I would need to do a little bit fancier masking in here, but let's just see what I can do real quick here. Okay, so I want his jacket, but not the pants. Not the pants. Not the hand. I would use my tablet to do a little bit better masking here, because I want to show you what happens when I go black and white. Okay, so I wasn't getting the colors I liked when I went black and white on this one. And what was happening in the background there? What did I do there? Where did I remove the color? There's not much color in the background anyways, right? So now that we've changed the jacket to green, let's wait for it to catch up. When I change it to black and white, it's going to be completely different, right? Still catching up. Okay, so now when I go black and white, watch. Now I can darken the jacket and brighten him. Okay. Better? Maybe. It feels flat, right? So I could go and add some contrast, right? But it's better, right? Because I shifted the color of the jacket before I did the black and white conversion. That's not bad right there, right? Smart contrast. Again, if I just want it on the jacket, I should have done a smart mask, or better copy the mask, okay? Okay, so see what I'm doing? I'm just adding contrast. So again, controlling the light has to do with contrast as well. Okay, so I'm adding some highlights. And I'm just affecting this jacket again. Looks like I'm affecting his head too much too. Oh, it did get him. Okay, so no, I don't want him. too much contrast up here. There we go. Okay, better. Clipping a little bit on his hand. Overall, I might brighten it a little bit. And then just clipping on his hand. There we go. So that looks way different, right? Way different. Let's save this and bring it back to Lightroom and see what the difference is if I just convert this one to black and white in Lightroom. Okay, so it's going to come in here. I'll just make a virtual copy in Lightroom. And let's make this one black and white. Okay, so there's the Lightroom one. Let's compare. Okay, so the Luminar one is on the right and the Lightroom one is on the left. Okay, big difference in terms of light on his face because of the Relight tool. And look at the color of his jacket. I was able to darken the jacket because I was able to shift it to green and then darken it that way. But this is a way nicer black and white, I think, than the Lightroom one. Right? Especially because his face is brighter, right? And if we zoom in, oops, that's a little too much zooming in. Look at his face, right? Eyes are way better. You could see his eyes, see his face, right? Okay, we're coming up on 2 hours, and I actually have to go and do some photography in an hour. So I need to get my act together and get some batteries and a camera because the camera club competition that we've been doing, my team is doing a little photo shoot today. So I have to go and participate in that. So if you have any questions, anybody have any final questions about any of these things that we've looked at today in terms of what tools to use to control the light? As Rob said, the light depth tool is impressive, but you were hoping they improved masking as well. Not as, Paul says, not as good as Infinity or Capture One. Capture One is quite high end. I hope they improve the masking as well. Yeah. You totally forgot that I'm going out. I'm sure you did. Any other questions about light control before we sign off? Our next live stream will be in 2 weeks. And I haven't got a theme yet, but it will be 4 hours later. So it will be at 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, 6 p.m. Eastern. So thank you, everybody, for joining in today. Thanks, Salim. Thanks for watching. Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Purple Guy, a.k.a. Kevin. Nice to see you. Thanks, Barbara. Learned a lot more about some of the Luminar Neo tools. Do you already have Luminar Neo, Barbara? Are you using it? Let me know. Thanks, Nancy. Always great to have you all here. As I said, 2 weeks from now, a new topic. Not sure what it's going to be yet. We might do photo restoration because that's the other new tool in Luminar. So we might play around with some restorations. There's also a restore tool in Photoshop. So maybe we'll do some comparisons between those two if there's interest. So thanks very much, everyone. Take care and have the rest of your day a great day.